Thank you so much, Craig. I think this was extremely helpful, action-oriented, complementary, and showing good overlap with our draft statement. But there were different points of emphasis in there, and that is helpful. Before I call on Roy and Marcelo for some closing remarks, let me give you a preview of what in the short time period that was available, in my impression, transpired from the inputs which you gave into the draft statement which we had put on the table yesterday. I only want to highlight a couple of points combined with my thanks that you all so carefully and thoughtfully had commented. The first thing that I find interesting is I didn't get a major restructuring suggestion. So very constructive, very loyal, but I hope you didn't feel squeezed by the structure which we had proposed, which started out with motivation, objectives, and localizing the food loss and waste problem, but also giving it a global perspective. In that context, a number of you have highlighted that we need to be more specific on the key role of incentives and in order to incentivize efficient value chain functioning, incentives for consumers to change their behavior, so cutting across on incentives. And a few others have highlighted at that early stage of the draft statement the importance of context specificity. The issue which was also highlighted in that context was related to sequencing action, focusing on prevention, not just on reduction, was a point made by some of you forcefully. Prevention of food waste and losses. Those of you who have to run away, have a safe journey home. We will wrap it up. Our goal is by 3 o'clock. We stick to time. Let me highlight that the point on strengthening information and data was further amplified during the workshop. Some of us were surprised by the fairly shallow database that is currently available. But Craig, I recall from the WRI study where you had carefully compared the earlier data with the case study data, concluding that broadly speaking, the 1/3 of waste and losses of food seems to be right. We need to dig deeper and make this not just a one-shot, but a monitoring and change database. Otherwise, we don't see progress and we don't see the payoffs of investment. On point 5, research in science and technology, I think the addition to our earlier draft is the call for bringing together the science community into a much bigger global network, and not just in general terms, but specifically with a science agenda. And we need a clearly focused and financed science agenda. What do we expect from an Academy of Science? That has to be in there. There is new information on point 6 on civil society actions. For instance, the call for a toolkit to be shared, much more emphasis on education than we had in there. Further input has also come in on point 7, religious communities actions, after this extremely important and visionary talk of in the session talks in the session this morning. The emphasis that all religious groups can and should act together, and that we need to find mechanisms to actually make this happen and to overcome throwaway culture is further emphasized. On government's action, the incentives, the market-based approaches are mentioned and further emphasized under business case and corporate actions. That is section 8 and 9. And the most comments further came into the wrapping up of joint action. Apparently there is a hunger for joint action that was stimulated by this meeting. I hope that is true. Because that I think could really make big differences. Let me emphasize that we have, and that I don't think I have read in some of the in the comments so far, that we have a few gaps here. I think we should have a lot more participation from China and India in this conference. Our colleague from India, Ashok Gulati, was committed to come. His father passed away, he couldn't come. So the most senior food and agriculture advisor of the Indian government. I'm very happy that you, Mr. Gopalan, are here and representing the big Indian NGO movement in this field. But it would have been good to have government and science also at the table, and the same applies to China. And we will make an attempt to get India and China into the written documentation as a follow-up to this workshop to make sure that more than half of the world population's entities are also represented, not just in a technical way, but in a political, civil society and in a governance way. We will proceed with doing a lot more careful assessment of the inputs from all of you. This will not be a consensus statement. With the little notes which I have already, the 3.5-page statement has become a 6-page statement. We will tailor it back because we have no chance that the general public will read a lengthy statement as an outcome. The lengthy points will be in the publications where all of you will have the chance to make your point actually not the chance, I beg you to make your points and cater your messages to the different communities. But the summary has to be brief, otherwise I'm afraid also the Holy Father and his environment will not read 6 pages, but maybe 1 or 2, which we ask you, Marcelo, to deliver. And we will be eager to also translate these statements, as we have done before. We have translated statements into certainly Spanish, hopefully Portuguese. We have translated into Chinese and German and so on. So we want to cater the results of this workshop to the global community. And why not a few different African languages, and French, of course. I would like to have a good and safe trip, and thank you for your contributions. I would like to open it up for some pointed interventions, very brief, and I see Avram, and you will have the floor, please.
So very brief. I think I have a fundamental modification. Over 25 times in the document, it says FLW, FLW. There's ABC letters that are very hard to remember. But think about this and everything will make sense. Food, loss, and waste is a flaw. It's flaw. Add an A. It's a flaw to humanity, to the world, to the environment that we waste so much food. Now what do we need to add? An S. It's flaws. This room is food, loss, and waste solutions. And then the tagline is flaws to flawless. When we follow the solutions, we will have a flawless world. Thank you.
If any one of you, when shaving tomorrow morning or showering, has another such beautiful idea, please send it to me. Although he doesn't shave, which makes it even more miraculous. Thank you, Avram. Colleagues, I suggest we listen to Roy. Roy, please.
I will be really brief. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming all this way and joining us for these last 2 days. I think we're really lucky to be in this location. It is such historic and it's such a meaningful place where we can actually talk about some of the most fundamental, the basis for so much human endeavor, which I think is rooted in values and morality. And this is a place where we can actually bring that up with ease. The other reason I'm so glad to be here this morning, walk through the Basilica, and you just realize the power of many people working together to create a vision. Right? That took a lot of people with an incredible vision. And I think as we're now in a globalized world, we need a vision and we need to all work together. And I hope this is one of the examples and one of the many ways we can change this world and create the world we actually want. So thank you so much for coming and look forward to the ongoing building of the flawless world that we hope to see.
Thank you. Marcelo, do you give us some passing thoughts?
So, only one thing, to thank to you and to everyone for your active participation, collaboration, for your intervention and your speeches, and also for this conclusion. And also this idea to work together, to begin to work together and to continue to work together for this real, very important question of the food for the people. And also to maybe open a relation with the production. I think loss and waste is in relation also to production. So maybe to have a next meeting. But the president is a specialist in this thing, so I can say nothing because not have the authority to say nothing. So really to thank you and to thank all the people, especially the Rockefeller Foundation and the president that really worked too much to organize this, and also all the collaboration and also the staff and all people to work, also the staff of the Rockefeller Foundation. So we can say that we are very happy about the work that we do in these 2 days, very intensive work, and maybe this could be a great contribution for to solve the problem. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcelo. Nothing to be added. Have a safe journey home. God bless you. Thank you.